Hello guys. Welcome to my channel, Jura Tempest Federation. In our previous episode, we have seen the meeting's main topics just started. If you have not watched the previous episode, I will put a link in the description below. To quick warning, this video contains spoilers from a light novel. But before we proceed further, please like, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell for further updates. In this video, we will see the discussion about main topic. Now, without further delay, let's proceed further. It is unfortunate, but Benimaru is my right-hand man. I suppose we still can go together to inspect the construction at times. Ah, that would do just fine. Please come and rest at our village when you do, Momiji said with a smile all over her face. Seeing Hakiru on the side, smirking like his plot had come to fruition, it seemed that both of them had figured that this matter would quickly solidify Benimaru and Momiji's relationship. Benimaru-kun, why don't you just give in to this? I'm not doing that. But I suppose I can be Rimuru-sama's guard during inspection. Shrugging, Benimaru replied. This was perhaps as much as Benimaru could back down for. I guess I'll take what's on the table. Momiji was happy as well. If I push now, it would be abuse of power. How their relationship would play out from here would be their own doing. And so, I managed to profit from it. Please just call me Momiji, Rimuru-sama. Hakiru acknowledged as well. Apparently, I didn't have to be that respectful after all. Then, Momiji-san, is it okay for me to run an investigation to see whether the locale is convenient for tunnel drilling? It's fine. We don't have a problem with it, though I hope that you will run your investigation carefully. In other words, if the investigation showed that there was no issue, we could begin the tunnel drilling. The attitude of the Tengu clan had softened on the matter. The project could finally proceed smoothly. How wonderful. Next time I should also visit Momiji's mother, Kid-san. I'd go with Hakiru when the opportunity arose. As you can see, Omija-san, we still hope that you can grant us the permission to cross the border into Sarian and run the investigation. Everything has been approved. Elalud, do as you see fit. This was my ideal model of a ruler. Omija's attitude of pushing everything to someone else to handle was giving me a lot of ideas. Yes, ma'am. Your Majesty Rimuru, I will print out the necessary permits. However, regarding the construction within our nation, please allow us to prepare civil engineers. Elalud seemed to have grown more and more wary. There's no way he wasn't an excellent minister, having worked under such a free-spirited emperor. But Elalud was still unwilling to comply with our terms without his own additional condition. If we were to handle all of the construction, it would probably cause much inconvenience to them. I personally didn't object and agreed. Since both sides had agreed to help each other, the deal was sealed. We were going to open a reflection meeting, yet the important topics suddenly got settled. Since all of the big heads were gathered here, we skipped all the complicated procedures and went straight to the deal making. Everything progressed surprisingly fast. Well, most of this was thanks to Omija. Under these circumstances, Yaum, who had been listening to us quietly, had something to say. Young Master No, Your Majesty Rimuru. I have a question to ask, if it is convenient. With all these powerful figures gathered at the meeting, raising his own opinion already took a lot of courage. Yaum seemed to have grown considerably since the last time we met. What is it, Yaum-san? I was going to explain it personally. Unfortunately, I'm not as educated, so is it okay for my wife to explain? Wife? Does he mean Myron? It'd be surprising if Yaum got some concubine. Surely that wouldn't happen to Yaum. Although it turned out that my worries were unnecessary, the one who stood up next was indeed Myron. You look just as great as always, Your Majesty Rimuru. You too. Myron-san, you look good. How wonderful. With the great debt I owe towards Your Majesty Rimuru, it is fine for you to call my name directly. No way. The meeting has been foiled by Omija with a bunch of casual nonsense. We can't have ourselves stray from formality, though it seems it's too late to say such things. Then we will leave that for future discussion. Let's just talk casually now. Then, Myron, what's on your mind? Yes, Your Majesty, the question is about the proposal Rimuru-sama just mentioned. The route starting from the Blooming Kingdom, crossing through our nation, and reaching Dworgen. I believe you used to have a goal. To strive for the common prosperity of man and monsters. Could you consider the project as part of this goal? Man and monsters, circle of common prosperity, that sounds good to me. I suppose you can see it that way. By the way, great choice of words. You get the idea immediately upon hearing the phrase. To work towards a state where humans and monsters could prosper together. Monsters as a whole came in a lot of different varieties too, though many of them should actually be called demi-human. But putting that aside, the phrase common prosperity really reflected my ideal. With Tempest at the center, there was Dworgen in the east, Bloomund in the west, and the huge monster circle led by Milim in the south. There was also a large area of human residences further past Bloomund Kingdom. It was connected to the Farminas Kingdom in the north, as well as the grand domain of the Sorcerers Dynasty Sarian in the south. In addition, Bloomund Kingdom was the window to the western nations. If we had these kingdoms cooperating as well, the circle for human monster prosperity was gonna live up to its name. Thank you for your response. Then my question is this: our kingdom will do what we can to help Rimuru-sama achieve this goal. Fortunately, our nation's nobles were all very Inatimi, persuaded by Diablo-sama there. They have become very obedient, willing to help, well, mostly to the two of our opinions. That's why we plan to start a national business as the first step of a newly rising nation. Based on these considerations, what should we do as business? That was Myron's question. Surely you should operate just as we planned before, running agriculture. It shouldn't be an issue. Everything has been proceeding as planned. We've ordered people to handle specific crops. I see. What about? What about what? I tried asking her about all the ideas I had, but it seemed that she had arranged everything in order. Diablo had obviously tamed the nobleman. Yaum also gained massive support among his people. In terms of the military might of different factions within the nation, a consensus had also been reached. The old Farmus had fallen, and the new nation of Farminas had risen in its place. The first step was to end the unrest within the nation, which seemed to have been accomplished. In addition, they needed to comfort the citizens, and gradually move the nation's industrial focus to agriculture. Diablo must have been behind the scenes to help, but Myron also seemed to have executed the long-term plan extraordinarily. Then could you gather those who are currently unemployed? We shall obey Rimuru-sama's order. If possible, we were actually thinking about using our own manpower to lay down the railway tracks. Since it will become a method of transportation for our agricultural products, surely, the transportation network will be a major lifeline for our nation. It would indeed. If you are not just growing the amount for your own nation's consumption, you are going to get a lot of surplus in the future. You will need to ship them to other nations in need, before they go bad. I think it will be an important industry for your nation. In the past, Farmus Kingdom would resell goods from Dworgen. Those were mostly handcrafts and gear. There was no concern over any items going bad. The merchants were responsible for transporting these items, and the country could easily profit via taxing tariffs. This would no longer apply. The merchants would no longer be the sole responsible party for the goods. The nation itself would be forced to raise its own credibility. In store for them was the era of nations ensuring the legality of the flow of goods. I look forward to the day when the magic train runs through the Great Plains. Surely the merchants in the future will change their trade model as well. We will need to continue to learn in order to catch up with the trend. It will be faster than horse carriages. Goods that are expected to be delivered in a week, it will only take 3 hours in the future. The storage space required will probably be 100 times more than before. What? Gazelle and Ilmesia had seen this coming, so they didn't seem surprised, but the same couldn't be said about the rest of the people at this scene. The news was probably too shocking, making everyone go numb. As for Yuki, Hinata, and Masayuki, they gave off a slightly different dry smile respectively. Anyhow, we need to purchase the land for laying tracks early. I want to plan out a straight and effective transportation route. Guild's men, as well as the beastmen studying at our town, have already learned how to survey a land. I will still do the final confirmation, but the rest of the work will be left to them. Myron, you can find labor for them to command. Please bring someone who's literate to lead them, and also divide them into different platoons. Understood. It's truly making me look forward to it. Myron accepted my proposal. Apparently, they were planning to offer us aid in the first place. The matter had been resolved smoothly. Then it was Fuse's turn to raise his hand. Because of all the important figures gathered here, I waited until now to say anything. He ended his sentence with a wry smile. Fuse was there since the pre-festival night. But he was timid, seeing all of the people gathered around, and didn't come up to talk to me. I noticed that as well, but I couldn't find the appropriate time to talk with him. Although he seemed to have enjoyed himself during the festival, I planned to greet him later, and just forgot about it. Sorry. I was going to greet you back then. Rimuru-sama seemed busy then as well. It's alright. By the way, my friend wanted to talk to you too. This is great timing. What he has to say relates to what has just been discussed. Fuse then introduced me to Baron Vuryard, who I also knew well. I recalled him to be an experienced man who should not be underestimated. I am Vuryard. I kind of forced my way to the meeting today. First of all, I want to thank your Majesty Remur. And to everyone here, it is a pleasure to meet you. He stood with great gesture and bowed elegantly. He clearly knew how to deliver a good greeting, nothing like some lowly noble from a small kingdom. Then, allow me to ask a question in the stead of the ruler of Bloomin Kingdom, King Dahlum. Vuryard suddenly squinted his eyes at the seats next to him. The aforementioned royal couple were sitting there. So, you guys actually came. I'm really not sure, considering how little presence you've shown throughout the meeting. I told King Dahlum that we would have a proper conference planned after this meeting, now it would be unnecessary. This was the equivalent of the later conference. That's it for today, guys. See you next one. For further more update, please like, share and subscribe. And do not forget to push notification bell.